Disney, and not just with Disney, really Hollywood in general, they're all in on catering to not just the lowest common denominator, but also amplifying or validating a very, very small portion of the population and amplifying them to make them seem that they're rather more of them, or rather people more interested in that than not. Of course, I know folks like to think that, well, don't blame the actors when I talk about either tokenization or some on-the-nose social justice aspect. Folks try to rid the Hollywood, like the actual actors and the actresses, they try to rid them of any sort of blame as if they don't accept the roles. And I'm like, that's bullshit. They don't have to accept these roles. They choose to. So they fucking in on it. They ain't just, no, I'm just doing my job. Hell no. But Tom Hiddleston, who plays Loki, who we talked about this, and I've, of course, debunked as many videos and nonsense about people with Norse mythology. He was a horse type shit. I've already been through that. I'm not boring you with any of those fucking details of what's happening with that and why you're all bullshit and why it makes zero sense that canonically they're looking at it like he is just literally bisexual, meaning that he's not in the sense of tricking people, but actually into fucking other dudes and shit. That's just not a thing. It's unique to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and some recent, or rather a recent phenomena, let's say that. So he says, let's just read through it. I'm reading, of course, from Bounding into Comics. Let's see what they say. If the Disney Plus series Loki accomplished one thing, it established Tom Hiddleston's version of the character as a member of the LGBT community. According to Hiddleston, however, Marvel still has a long way to go in representing non-straight sexuality with their characters. In the third episode of Disney Plus exclusive series, we already know that he came out just gay as shit, whatever. In a recent interview, though, with The Guardian, he told, as Tom Hiddleston, the actor that plays Loki, told the news outlet that Loki coming out as bisexual is only a small step in a larger goal to represent LGBT identities on screen. That's what he says. I also hope Loki coming out as bisexual was meaningful to people who spotted it. It was a small step and there's further to go, but it's definitely important to all of us. Hiddleston's sentiments echo those of Dee Martino herself, who in an interview with Variety last year likewise asserted, I remember Kate Herron being really passionate about it, and that she, being a bisexual woman, wanted to be represented in the show. Of course, it's called a self-insert. I think people have been waiting a long time for it. No, the only people that wait for that type of shit are weirdos that are in like the fan fictions and shit. And yeah, maybe they are homosexual themselves, but it's not like a significant portion of the population is like, oh, I can't wait for the next bisexual character. Like, nobody gives a shit about that. Again, you're catering to just demographic weirdos on the internets and the Twitterverses who just are very loud as shit and very unreliable as customers. The comic books allude to it. No, they don't. And even Norse mythology, no, they don't. Again, I've debunked all of that. It's a huge myth. They use this idea of him shape-shifting to get what it is that he wants. And, you know, it's Loki, he'll shape-shift or whatever fucking he needs to meet his end game. And they look at that, well, that means he's actually literally in the guise, because I don't know, he'll turn into a fucking horse. Like, it's like fucking stupid. Like, it's a dumb non-argument. It completely absolves what the Loki character actually is. Not in the sense of just Norse mythology, but more so in the sense of Marvel and what it is his aspirations are, and the fact that he's essentially the god of fucking lies, and that's what he does. So he'll do whatever he needs to get to that end game. But it's not because he gives a shit about banging other fucking dudes. They ain't got nothing to do with nothing. But they take that. You've seen this before. Oh, well, a person shape shifts, therefore gay. It's like, so they make stuff up and they gaslight. They do this. They're very, very good at that, where they say that you see things, or rather that what you saw didn't exist. And they try to make something, oh, well, it was always there. You're like, no, it wasn't. It was not always there. That never was the case. You just made it there. You know what I'm saying? And in that case, just say it. It's been around for so long that it's important to her to have in the show, But we tried not to let that affect the way we were playing it. You know, we're just playing it like it's quite a natural conversation between two friends, well, two acquaintances at that point. So further noted, so we tried to not give it too much weight, but we knew in the back of our minds how important it was to a lot of people, and I've got to say how happy it makes people to see that. So Heron herself is bisexual, and she wanted this character or some sort of implication to be bisexual, and that's exactly what the fuck she got. We talked about this dumbass shit as well because she brags about it. So when they say, well, it's just by chance, it's natural, no, it's not. This is the tweet that we went through where this said it was very important to me, my goal to acknowledge Loki was bisexual. That's what they wanted to do. They led with that. It wasn't some natural occurrence. No, it was this person's bisexual, and therefore I want that to be reflective somewhere in the show. And it was so important because I'm consumed by my sexuality. That's just how these guys operate. That's how most of these advocates that are in writers' roles and production roles and the actors and actresses roles, that's how they play. So they feel the character should be more a reflection of them than you know, a reflection of the character. Adaptations be damned. And I've been trying to explain this to you guys forever. Like, you're dealing with a different animal here. You're dealing with a bunch of activists that are consumed by their activism. So if you go into something and you're like, okay, this is who I am, this is what I am, and everything that I touch has to either validate that or more of what I think they do, amplify that, promote that, then that's just what it is. You have to come to terms with this. It's not like I'm making it up. I know people like to think that we make this stuff up, like we're just finding things that are there that are not. No, there's a legitimate agenda with this stuff. And then when they come out and say it, like they flat out admit, how many videos have we done? Well, here's the actors or the actress explicitly stating themselves what their goals were. I'm not making it up. I didn't just pull it out of my asshole. That's what they say. And then you acknowledge it. And I don't even think these fools don't want it to be true. They just don't want you to be right. So it's like, okay, we got to do it on our own terms. Sure, there's an agenda here. We got to do it on our own terms. We don't want you calling us out for it. I'm like, what type of sense does that make? But we're going to get more of it. Tom just admitted it. And how important is that? Like, seriously. Remember that YouGov poll we looked at with all those people overstated, like even the existence of how many gay people represent, like the population, like overestimated. I thought trans people were like 20% of fucking America's population when it's less than 1, as an example. But I mean, Marvel, Disney, they're all in on that. But they're not the only Hollywood studio. They're all in on this. Like, they're obsessing over this. And it's not about making good art. It's not about making good movies. It's not even about entertaining. That has nothing. That's the thing that I don't want to say it has nothing to do with it. It's more secondary to everything else. These things are being created so these folks can show just how it ain't even about just the term woke, I guess. I know a lot of people like to use. It's more that these guys are just, what headlines can they grab? What social statement can they make? And everything after that is secondary. Though you think just entertaining the audience is number one, first and foremost. Because a lot of them don't give a shit about your sexuality and other various superficial stuff that you like to bring into the equation all the time. But they're obsessed. And because y'all gave them and acknowledged them as the power that is that they have, they're not going to stop. They're just going to keep going and going and going. And this is why I say defund them. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on YouTube.com/YoungRipper59 and Odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, EricDJuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.